So by kind of helping other engineers, you have this side benefit that you actually get more customers.
Yeah, so and from that I have actually got more customers, not potentially directly through Instagram, but through other engineers. The reason I've started charging for quotes now, you do spend time and to try and give the customer the best price and everything. And the most frustrating thing is when you get blanked. I explain to them, okay, there is a charge for the quote, and I explain to them why that is.
But you couldn't do that unless the customer had seen you on YouTube. You have that authority, you have that trust, all of that kind of stuff. This is the Field Rocket Podcast. I'm your host, Tulloch Priest, and today we're joined by Chirag. He is a gas engineer and also the owner of CP Utility Solutions. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Social media is playing a bigger and bigger part in the industry. And we've had several guests on talking about TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but YouTube is slightly different.
Yeah.
Today's episode is going to be all about how to run a heating and plumbing company and getting YouTube to support you. We've brought Chirag on to share his insights. What do you, kind of in a sentence or two, why should people listen to what's important about this conversation?
Well, I think what people would want to know from this conversation is the challenges that come across when you see something on social media, on YouTube. The reality of it is very different to the actual edited content.
How does it change?
So people just see, okay, someone's on YouTube, they're making a few videos, they think, oh, they're making some money out of it and this, that, the other. But what they don't really understand is it's two jobs at once. So you're doing your actual work, which is plumbing and heating, and then the YouTube stuff turns into, initially it starts off as a hobby or something for fun.
Yeah.
But then as it grows, you then quickly realize, right, this is now taking up pretty much just as much time as me doing my actual work. So if people are interested in getting into YouTube or the social media side of things, this is where they're going to understand that when it starts, it's a bit of fun. But then as it grows, depending on how seriously people want to take it, it can pretty much end up being two jobs at once.
When you're doing like a boiler install or doing the work, does it slow you down? Like, are you kind of like thinking about where the camera's going to go and those kind of things?
Yeah,
does it actually slow the job down?
So it does slow the job down because you want to think about camera placement, what sort of shots you want to get in, and ultimately how you want the final product to look. But as the more content you film, you sort of get used to it, you find your own groove, and now it kind of doesn't take me as long to work out how I'm going to record a particular job. And now where there's so much new technology out, you've got action cameras on tripods, you've got chest mounts, you've got head mounts, so you can really get first person view action, so you can still be working with your hands free, or sometimes you'd be holding the camera in one hand, you're trying to do something in one hand, and these sort of challenges people don't see. What they see on YouTube, they just see, okay, they're watching a video, but they're not seeing behind the scenes what's actually going on.
But all of the production, the setting up,
Yeah.
etc. Just to kind of jump back a little bit, like why should people actually go on social media? What's the benefit that you've got out of being on YouTube?
For me personally, I did it because I was watching other people's YouTube videos, and when I first started, I found a lot of educational information on how to do certain jobs, and that's the reason why I started doing YouTube and social media in general, because I started picking up my own sort of tips and tricks on how to do specific jobs. And where I work on my own and I've learned a lot from other people, I thought this is a way for me to give back to the plumbing and heating community. It may only help one person or two people, and that's all it needs, because that one or two people is going to make their life easier, and you never know, it may give them that confidence to then progress more in their work, and maybe they might start their own social media pages off the back of that, and then it's just a way of growing the community and spreading education and awareness.
Hi, producer Alex here, wondering if you knew that you aren't subscribed to the channel. Well, specifically, 93% of you are not subscribed, and we really appreciate you tuning in right now, but you're missing out on even more interesting content. You're already this far into the episode, so why not subscribe to the Field Rocket YouTube channel? Because showing your support genuinely makes a difference. It's free, takes a second to click, and helps us continue to make the content that you want to listen to. Speaking of, let's get back to it.
So by kind of helping other engineers, you have this side benefit that you actually get more customers.
Yeah, so and from that I have actually got more customers, not potentially directly through Instagram, but through other engineers. So I've get past a lot of jobs from other engineers where they've seen how I do certain jobs.
Okay,
work
so
on-
so from other engineers, is it,
Yeah.
why can't they do the work themselves?
Because I specialize in breakdowns, so boiler
Okay.
repairs, and there's engineers out there. What people think when you're a gas engineer, people think you do everything, or you're a plumber, you do everything. It's not the case. There's subdivisions within those sort of industries as well, within those sort of job roles. So for me, I'm predominantly a breakdown engineer or service and repair engineer. There's people out there who do predominantly plumbing, so they'll maybe do, and when I say plumbing, it might just be sort of reactive plumbing, so tap changes, toilets, things like that. There'll be people who do whole bathrooms. I don't class myself as a bathroom fitter at all. I've never done a bathroom. I have no intention of taking on bathrooms.
Not curious about it?
I'm not curious about it at all.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Anytime I get inquiries about bathrooms, I just pass it on to friends or other colleagues who deal with them. Then you've got people who do installs, and then even in installs, you've just got boiler swaps, you've got whole system conversions, you've got full central heatings, you've got whole house installations. So there's levels to what kind of role that you're in. So there might be someone who's just doing installs, and maybe they're not confident on doing breakdowns, but they've got a customer who's got a problem with the boiler, but because this person focuses mainly on installs and they're not confident in breakdowns, I am confident in breakdowns, so they will pass the job on to me.
Yeah, or they could be doing a long job and they don't want
Yeah,
to break, or whatever.
something like that. And it's always a case of, it's never a case of me taking someone else's customer off them. It's me going and helping that person out for their customer. So ultimately, that engineer is not losing their customer. Their customer is still getting the job sorted via me, but they're still retaining that customer because ultimately they found a solution for their customer's problem.
Okay, so they helped them out.
Indirectly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's because you kind of have like two options. You could have generate content for other engineers, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you could do like content which would be more customer focused. So, like the engineer stuff, it's more like how to.
Yeah.
But the customer focused would be more, here's a finished job, here's all the pipe work, it's
That's
nice
it,
and
yeah.
neat kind of thing. Was it like a conscious choice to go for the engineer, or you just it just seemed like a natural thing?
It was naturally, it came as for me to give back to other engineers. And that's where I predominantly started. And I started doing how-to videos and on specific jobs, and it slowly then turned into a day in the life video. So in the day in the life videos, it's basically anything and everything. Unless if I come across a particular job which I think would make a really good how-to video, I will do a dedicated video just on that job. But now all my videos are more sort of a day in the life. So it's a very, very varied content. So now it's a mixture of being aimed at other engineers and also customers as well.
Okay, so you're getting more. And when you get calls, like what changed like before, if you weren't doing social media, what would be different from now? Like when you get a call, somebody's asking for like a quote or something like that. Like how is that different from before and after?
So initially, before the whole social media thing, if someone calls me up for a quote, they don't know me, they don't know what I look like, they don't know how I work or anything. I'm just a gas engineer that they've called because the boiler's broken. So you give them a price, a call-out fee or diagnostic fee, and the first thing they do is, they're expecting a free call-out or they're expecting a free quote. What they don't understand is that, or even quoting, it takes time. You go to the customer's house, you spend time doing a site survey, you then go home afterwards, you then have to prepare the quote, and all this is after you've actually finished a day on the tools. You then come home and you're now sitting on your laptop researching prices, preparing this quote and sending it off to the customer. They don't understand that all of this actually takes time out of our own personal life. I've got a family, I've got a wife and 2 young kids, and I find myself doing all this admin and paperwork after they've gone to sleep. Because you can do a quick quote on the job, but if it's a big quote like a boiler install or conversion or something like that, it's not something you can just quickly price up there and then. If it's a boiler repair and it needs a part, I can say, right, okay, labor is going to be this much, and the part's going to cost this much, and I can come and do it now, whenever. But if it's a bigger job, then it does take a lot more time because you want to make sure that you get all your costings right, because you want to make sure that not only are you giving the best price to the customer, but that you're not going to be out of pocket yourself, because prices of materials are changing all the time as well. So what you might have quoted a month ago may not necessarily be the same price today.
Yeah.
So
you did mention, sorry to interrupt.
No.
You did mention you charge for quotes.
Yes, so
it's quite a unique idea.
Yeah, so recently I have started charging for quotes because I found myself going out to do a lot of quotes, and then it's really frustrating because you actually want to win the work and you do spend time and to try and give the customer the best price and everything. Yeah. And the most frustrating thing is when you get blanked. So you send off all the information, you just don't hear anything back from them. And
so it's just silence.
Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes I understand if someone says, okay, I'll get it cheaper elsewhere. Okay, fair enough. But the reason I've started charging for quotes now, and it's not on every job, it's only on certain jobs where I know it's going to take time, like a considerable amount of time out of my day to do this. And if a customer is serious about wanting to get the job done, I explain to them, okay, there is a charge for the quote, and I explain to them why that is, which is what I just explained. The amount of time it takes to do all this.
But you couldn't do that unless the customer had seen you on YouTube. You have that authority, you have that trust, all of that kind of stuff.
Correct. So where customers have seen me on YouTube and they know how I work, they know what's involved in the work, they can clearly see it's not, a 5-minute job, even though the videos might be only a few minutes long. The reality is there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. So when I get calls from customers who've found me off of YouTube, I do explain that, look, the reason for the cost is this. But if you go ahead with me, then I'll take that off the final quote. But it's the same as me going out to investigate a fault on the boiler. So if someone's got a problem with the boiler, I could go out there for free, not actually do any work, tell them what the problem is, and expect that I'm going to get the repair job. But what they'll do then is they'll find someone else cheaper to do.
But you've done half of the work already.
I've done probably the difficult bit, which is actually finding out what the problem is. So I always charge for, and rightfully so, I think every engineer should be charging for the knowledge and for the time and for the efforts, because time is money.
But it's a skill that you've built up over the years.
Exactly.
Okay, you can maybe fix it in 5 minutes, but
it was. I've been able to fix it in 5 minutes because it's taken me 5 years to get to there, and it's taken 5 years of experience of going to colleges, training at colleges. And not only that, you, as a sole trader, you've got your insurance to pay for your van, your public liability, your fuel costs, running costs, wear and tear, your tools, everything. And people don't see the bigger picture. They just see that I'm charging a quote or I'm charging for a call out. They don't see that not all of that money is going to my back pocket. Minimum 20% is going to HMRC.
Yeah. I suspect it's probably a bit more than that.
But the minimum 20% is going to HMRC. Then after that, you've got to take off all your business running expenses. So what you're actually left with is not actually that much. So when people think, oh, you're charging for a quote, they need to look at the bigger picture. And I think that's where the difficulty lies between customers and tradespeople.
So kind of a mismatch of expectations.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you've decided, okay, I want to be on social media. What kind of... Okay, you could post 1 or 2 videos, but I would suspect that's probably not going to make any difference whatsoever. Like, how much do you have to post? How long does it take? And what kind of commitment and how long it takes to get that return? So
in terms of what you need to be and how often you need to be posting on social media, it will grow sort of organically. The more you post, the more you start posting, it will just become natural to do it more often. For me, YouTube, I started off with just 1 video a week because it also depends on how much content you've got filmed as well to be able to make a decent length video. And you also want to know, you don't want the video to be too long because then the audience are not going to sit there for an hour. Because I've done an hour-long video on YouTube and it completely bombed because people are not going to sit there for an hour watching a plumber doing work.
Well, what's a decent kind of length of
video?
I
find between 15 minutes to half an hour.
It's still quite long though, isn't it?
It's long enough so that, let's say you're taking a break, you're taking a lunch break, you want to watch something whilst you're having a lunch break or whilst you're having your dinner. If you're in the middle of something, you can quickly put it on your phone, you can watch a video. Or if you've got a certain job that you need to do, the how-to videos, you don't want them to be too long because if someone's watching a how-to video, you want it to be short, sharp, snappy because people just want to watch what needs to be done. So they might be on the
They
job,
do it.
they might be in front of the boiler, and they don't want to watch a half an hour video because that boiler's leaking or there's a problem with it. They want to know how to get it done.
So your day in the life one's around 10 to 15.
No, the day in the life are probably between 15 to half an hour.
Yeah, and then
the how-to videos are probably, I'd say, so with YouTube, your videos have to be a minimum of 8 minutes to get monetized. So I would say my how-to videos are probably between 8 to 12 minutes long.
Okay, so you're just kind of pushing. And then for the day in the lives, are they heavily edited? Like what kind of? I'm trying to work out how much. Like if you sat down, how many hours per week do you spend on social media?
A lot. I couldn't tell you exactly how many hours, but let's say my Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, so I pretty much lost to editing because
so like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, easily,
okay,
because
so 6, 9, so 10 hours a week.
Yeah, because you never know what content you're going to catch. So my camera's always on. So it's recording everything, and then when you sit down,
is it like a body camera, or you set one up, or you just
so
get to the job site, put it on?
Yeah, so I've got an action camera, and initially it's just on a tripod, but then I've also got the body cam adapters and everything. So depending on what kind of job I'm doing, I then take the camera off the mount, put it on the chest mount, put it on the shoulder mount, or put it back on the tripod. So all this also takes time as well, knowing where to put the camera and stuff. And then when you go back home, you then see how long footage you've actually recorded. You then have to watch all that footage, and then you have to cut it, chop it, and everything, because I might have recorded over an hour's worth of footage. So firstly, I have to sit there for an hour, watching it all back, and then cutting it back, and then re-watching it to make sure it's all flowing properly, making sure sound and everything is all okay. Because on YouTube, you can't have other music playing in the background because of copyrights and stuff like that. So there's lots that. Obviously, sometimes you're in the middle of something might be going wrong, and you might swear, and YouTube doesn't like swearing, so that you got to then cut out or bleep out or whatever, because we're tradespeople, we're rough around the edges, so we're not office people, we're not, wearing suits and ties. So yeah, sometimes we say things which probably shouldn't be said on camera, but when you're in the heat of a certain job and it's not going right, everything comes out.
So it's a huge commitment.
Oh yeah.
So but it's obviously is it something you really enjoy?
I do, and I think that's why I've carried on doing it, because initially I started doing it just for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But then as it's grown now, it's taking me longer and longer to do everything, because when I first started, I was just using my mobile phone. I was using my phone camera to record everything, and then I wasn't even really editing. I was just
shooting and then just go, here's how to do it or whatever.
Exactly.
Upload.
And then as I found that my channel was growing and I started actually getting monetized from YouTube and I started getting money back, I started reinvesting that revenue back into the editing stuff. So then I've brought a couple of cameras, I then bought microphones, then brought different stands. So I would say that my outlay in equipment is probably close to about £1,000 so far.
But this is more an advanced stage. You could start with just your phone.
Yeah, that's how I started.
And then just get going, and then as you move on.
This is it.
And the income from YouTube, how would you kind of? Is it a lot, or is it?
So
it just pays for equipment.
So do you mean in terms of the revenue from YouTube?
Yeah, the revenue. Yeah.
So the revenue from YouTube is very up and down. So it's very seasonal. Around September to December, because you get paid for the adverts. So the adverts, they pay more in the lead up to Christmas. Okay. So the monetization goes up as you get close to Christmas. Then it sort of tapers off a bit in the new year. And in the summer, it's pretty much dead. Like, I think initially when I first started, I got really happy that I was making like £100 a month off YouTube. Mm-hmm. And considering how much time and effort that you put into it, £100 in a month, not only that, you then have to declare that as taxed money as well. So you get taxed on that as well. My biggest payout from YouTube was last December. I got paid just over £800. But that's not every month. So,
but if you're talking like 10 hours a week, £800, it's not a good.
It doesn't equate to a lot of money.
Yeah, so like especially during the summer, if you're not.
In the summer, I think it goes. I've had summer months where it's gone down to less than £100 a month, but I'm still spending the same amount of time editing the videos, making sure they go out on time and everything. So you can't go into YouTube for the money. you have to go into YouTube for the love of editing and creating content. I'd say that the money and the revenue is a byproduct of doing something that you enjoy.
Okay, so it's just a little bit to help along. But you do get, like, it does help your business overall, though.
Yeah, so it's more about, now I've got a couple of channel sponsors as well. So that actually pays more than what YouTube actually pays as revenue. So if you're going into it for trying to make loads of money, yes, it's possible, but it depends on what route you want to take. I do YouTube. I've never sort of gone into it for the money. I started doing it because I enjoyed just putting content out there. And now, yes, the money is good in terms of, the way I see it, it just kind of pays for itself in terms of the equipment and stuff that I'm using. I get a little bit of money back from it and stuff like that. And it's given me a little bit more exposure. So it's now got me, I've managed to get some more sponsorship deals with other brands and things like that, which then helps my business, because not only financially, but also equipment wise. As some of the brands I work with, some of them I get paid for. Some of them, they send me out their equipment for free in return for me to create some content based on that product. So for me, my bread and butter is what I do with my hands, which
it's you are still a gas engineer.
I'm
You're
still
not
a
going to be
gas
like
engineer.
a full-time YouTuber.
Ultimately, if social media was to shut down tomorrow, I know I can still go out and earn a living doing what I do. So social media is not my primary financial income. It helps boost my income, but primarily I'm a breakdown engineer.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's quite a long journey. It's not an overnight thing.
No.
I'm just trying to do like a summary, like if somebody's looking to do social media, they've heard it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just want to convey some realities of it.
So if you're looking to get into social media, don't expect that it's all bells and whistles, it's airy-fairy. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into building up your channel. Don't expect anything overnight. I mean, some people have had overnight successes, whereas if you're lucky and you put a video out and it goes viral, then you might get hundreds of thousands of subs or views or whatever. But what it's really about is organic engagement with your audience. Because yes, you can put a video out that goes viral and it might get you tons of views, but those people are not going to be returning. You want people who are going to be returning and actually engaging with you.
So they might not be your core audience.
They might not be your core audience. It might just be a video that's just gone viral.
Would you say like it took 12 months to kind of see some traction, or how long do you think
I'd say it took me 2 years to really get it going. The first year was kind of teething. So understanding how YouTube works, how your content is shown from YouTube, how YouTube pushes specific types of content. And then the second year is when I started investing in proper equipment, and you find that YouTube does push the higher quality stuff. So I don't know how it does it, but it's got its own algorithm. So when you film stuff in a high quality recording, YouTube will more likely to push that. Even sound, if you're using microphones, YouTube will tend to push basically higher quality recorded content than stuff which is just recorded on your mobile phone. And also you want to find what kind of titles and thumbnails are going to attract your audience as well.
So there's a whole lot of learning involved.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing you'll need a decent PC for the editing.
So I had an old MacBook from 2011, which when I downloaded the editing software and I tried to edit on it, it just completely froze. So last year I spent $2,500 on a new MacBook.
Okay, so the YouTube subs are just going to cover equipment.
Exactly.
If you're lucky.
And honestly, because I do everything else on my phone, so my day-to-day work stuff and everything is all done on my phone. That MacBook, it's a $2,500 piece of equipment, pretty much just for editing. I don't really use it for anything else. I don't watch anything on it. If I want to watch something, I'll watch it on my phone, on the tablet, on the TV. That MacBook is literally just solely for editing stuff.
Any kind of final thoughts about people thinking to go into social media? Like, can you do kind of like half in? Like, if you did like one video a month, would it make any difference?
Yeah, do you know what? If people want to get into social media, go for it. There's no minimum, maximum, what you can do, what you can't do. I think if you want to do it, do it. Like, don't let anyone hold you back. And also, you got to be very thick-skinned, because you put out a video, you're going to get criticized, you're going to get trolled for it. You just have to be prepared that these people are sitting behind the screen ultimately. You're out there, you've put in the time and effort to create this content. Focus on the positive. There's going to be a lot of negativity out there. And the one thing I find is human nature is people hate to see other people succeed. People hate to see other people doing well because they can't do it themselves, or they're not in a position to do it themselves. If they see someone doing well, most of the time, they're not happy for them. And I don't know why that is. It just seems...
I think the reason is it kind of triggers something inside of them that is kind of like either I should have done that, or, there's something. Because if they didn't have that like interaction or that feeling with inside themselves, they wouldn't be bothered.
No.
I tend to think of them as confused fans.
Yeah, because for example, I've put out a video, I put out a reel a couple of days ago, and most of the feedback, it was me asking for advice on something, because I never claim to know everything, but I'm always wanting to know more. So I've put a video out asking for advice, and majority of the people have been helpful. But then you get some people who are like, oh, well, you should know this if you're, if you're a time served plumber, you should know this, or if you don't know what you're doing, stay away, and this, that, the other. And the way I see it is, if we were to use that same slogan in our schools, where would that leave our children in education? Oh, if you don't stay in your comfort zone, don't explore, don't swim out in your depth, don't learn anything. Just, if you don't know what you're doing, oh, if my 4-year-old comes up to me and he doesn't know how to spell his name, I'm going to be like, well, if you don't know how to spell, you shouldn't be using a pen.
Yeah.
What kind of message is that giving to people? If someone's out there actually trying to better themselves, improve themselves, it's one thing if I wasn't a gas safe engineer, or if I wasn't gas safe registered, and I'm asking someone how to fix a gas appliance, that's wrong, because I'm not legally qualified and I could potentially cause, harm or, danger for someone. But I am a gas engineer and I'm come across something which I haven't come across before. And I'm asking for a bit of advice. So majority of the people are helpful, but then you're going to get these people who are just, oh, if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be touching it, this, that, the other. Well, yeah, great advice. Let's see how your kids develop. If that's the sort of advice you're giving to people, like to see how you grow your children up in your own home.
Focus on the good ones.
Focus on the good ones.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with social media. There's always going to be negativity around it, but you have to try and kind of shield yourself from that negativity and focus on the positivity.
I think it's really good, just like sharing, contributing, helping other engineers.
Yeah.
It's really good because it's lifting everyone.
Exactly. And like you said, there's more people leaving the trade than coming into the trade. Yeah. And I think
we have a shortage.
There is definitely a shortage. And I think by putting out content on social media, it's encouraging other people to come back into the trade. But the negative comments that I've received on some of my videos, those are the people who are actually putting or stopping other people from wanting to come into the trade. Because if someone puts out a video, let's say if someone's brand new, fresh, and they're not sure what they're doing, they've put out a video asking for help, and all they're getting is hammered with negativity, they're going to be like, well, why did I even do this? Let me just go back to my office job or whatever, something else. We do need tradespeople. We need obviously people in all sorts of works of life, but where there's a shortage of tradespeople, people need to be encouraging each other rather than putting each other down.
Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your insights and appreciate your time. So thank you.
Thank you for having me as well. It's been great having a chat with you.
Thank you.